This is a scene from the puppet show Mendak Buddhi, a Panchatantra story performed by the Nori Arts and Puppetry Troupe, Hyderabad. So what is a puppet? A puppet is defined as a small figure of a person or an animal that can be made to move by pulling the stick or strings attached to its limbs or by putting one's hand inside it.
In other words, a puppet can be defined as any inanimate object which is given life through human effort, movement, and coupled with sound brought to life. Take for example this ball. This is an inanimate object, and what I do is just give it a few features. Then I make a little hole for the neck, take an ordinary handkerchief, put my index finger through the hole, and then take two rubber bands, one for my ring finger and one for my thumb. There. Hi, hello, my name is Pinky.
Can we call a doll a puppet?
No, we cannot call a doll a puppet because a doll doesn't have any life of its own. But we could make it into a puppet by giving it life, by manipulating it, because puppets are special beings. They're not of this world. They may imitate the human being, and they may to some extent do things that human beings do, but they're absolutely special. They may be allegorical, and they are totally imaginative, and it depends upon the puppeteer how he uses them, how he develops his theatre, how he makes the story, adds music, and so many other things. And this is what makes the puppet theatre so special, so unique.
Many scholars are of the opinion that puppet theatre originated in India. It is from here that the art migrated to other Asian countries like Thailand, Indonesia, and China. Considering the difference in design, mode of manipulation, and presentation techniques, puppets are basically of four types: the glove puppet, the rod puppet, string puppet, and shadow puppet. Glove puppets are also known as hand puppets. They are simpler to handle than the other puppets. Generally, a glove puppet is a miniature figure having a movable head and arms. Usually, it has a long flowing skirt as a part of its costume. The puppeteer wears the puppet like a glove. While the index finger manipulates the head, his or her thumb and middle fingers control the arms. A glove puppet can also represent an animal, like this frog. In this case, the mode of manipulation is different. The thumb moves the lower jaw and the other four fingers move the upper jaw. Finger puppets are also a form of hand puppets, but then they are usually used only in classrooms for teaching small children. The puppeteers manipulating the glove puppets usually hide behind a head-high screen. They push up their hands to manipulate the puppets so that the audience can see only the puppets. The tradition of glove puppets survives now in the hands of skilled puppeteers in different parts of the country. Rod puppets are full-length, three-dimensional figures supported and manipulated by concealed rods from below. Its movements are limited, but the control is absolute, and it calls for a lot of training before one can master the skill of manipulating the puppets.
So this is an example of a rod puppet. A center rod, which is concealed by the garment, holds the head, and we have two rods to support the hands. We can manipulate the hands with both the rods at the same time, like this. He can shake his head too, nod according to what he wants to say. And the rods can be concealed too with his garment.
Traditional rod puppets are now found only in West Bengal, where it is known as Putul Nach, and Orissa as Katai Kundehi Nach. This is a string puppet. In the West, string puppets are also known as marionettes. The jointed limbs of the string puppets are manipulated from above. This allows a greater flexibility for body and head movements. The number of strings on a puppet depends on the number of body parts that have to be manipulated. This puppet of Durga, for example, needs great dexterity. In India, the tradition of string puppets still survives in Rajasthan as Katputli. They survive in other parts of the country too, like Orissa, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Assam. The shadow theatre is a different form of puppetry. These puppets are made of leather. Here, the flat figures are lightly pressed onto a translucent screen with a strong source of light behind it. The limbs are loosely jointed for better manipulation. The audience sits on the other side of the screen and watches the shadows move when the figures are manipulated. Some scholars feel that the shadow theatre originated in India, while some are emphatic about its origin in China. It is indeed very fortunate that shadow theatre, having an unbroken tradition of more than 2,000 years, still survives in Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, Maharashtra, Kerala and other places.
We find the earliest appearance of puppets in religious ceremonies because basically our country has a religious base, and we find stories of Ramayana, Mahabharata much before we had any other medium of communication. In fact, puppets were telling stories from these mythological themes, and maybe that's why today everybody is so familiar with the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. And also they were telling stories of the kings and queens, and in the north, in Rajasthan, we have the Katputli telling us stories of Amar Singh Rathod, which is very popular. Kings wanted to tell tales, they wanted to spread the adventures of the kings, and that's how the art of puppetry gradually became very popular in those days.
Different kinds of materials are used to make puppets. Shadow puppets are usually made from leather, whereas rod puppets use a papier-mâché mask for face, cloth and other stuffing material for the body. String puppets often use wood, and the body parts are joined using pieces of wire. But puppets can also be made from throwaway material like old cartons, chart paper, or even paper plates. Let us look at how a simple puppet can be made from a toothpaste box.
But I'm the friendly monster. You like me? Yes! You know what I eat? Oh, I eat anything that's available.
Look at what has been made out of these paper plates. All these puppets have been made out of waste material like soap powder boxes, shoe boxes, chart paper, newspaper, colored paper, streamers, etc. What is required here is a pair of skilled hands and a lot of imagination. Contemporary puppeteers are experimenting with new ideas like this one here. On donning the mask and the robes, This human figure becomes the puppet.
Relax. Now let your head hang down.
This is another example of contemporary puppets, the big bird.
Come on. Oh no, Your Highness, I don't want to leave you.
But we don't want to anger Indradeva. He needs you. You must go, Lucharam.
Puppetry began as a major source of entertainment, but today it is used in other fields as well, like education, rural development, adult education, and so on. Learning in schools can be experiential with the use of puppetry. It adds fun to the process of learning. It helps alleviate the monotony of the conventional teaching-learning process.
I'll tell you the different types of eyes you can make. Now this has got eyes on the top, it has got ears here. Now this has got the eyes here and it has got ears.
Here we see a workshop being conducted for school teachers. This is to teach them the art of making puppets and how to use them in classrooms.
We can use puppets for teaching children right from the kindergarten to the higher classes. We can use it for teaching concepts of colors, shapes, dimension, numbers, language, and even science can be taught by the use of puppets. It's a very resourceful tool because the teacher can use any waste material, low-cost indigenous material creatively and come up with some interesting puppets that the child can enjoy watching. It's also important that we help children to appreciate the use of puppets by making them themselves. And by using a puppet himself, the child is able to come out of any hesitation or emotions that he has by displaying it through the puppet, and it is a form of self-actualization and the child comes out of his feelings. It's very interesting to watch children improve their level of concentration and they become very attentive in the class when the teacher is using puppets.
Sesame Street is a puppet show that is now broadcast in about 70 countries around the world. This show not only deals with the teaching of the alphabet and numbers, but also other concepts that a child should be taught while growing up, like health, hygiene, manners, and values.
We believe that puppetry is a very effective medium for spreading social messages. Any theme can be taken up, like water and sanitation, women empowerment, hygiene, or any issue that needs to be focused upon in the rural masses. The real life situation can be brought to life in front of the audiences in the form of puppetry. It can be enacted and performed, and the rural masses, they identify with these puppets, and it really makes them think about their problems and provokes them to come about with a solution to their problems. And really, puppetry is a powerful tool for communication. They not only watch the programs, they take interest in learning how to make puppets. They come forward and they communicate with the puppets as well as the puppets communicate with them.
Puppetry is also used as a medium to communicate social messages by the Department of Rural Development and Women and Child Welfare. This play, Saroja Pelli, deals with child marriage and discourages the practice. Santaku Vellina Sita is another play which informs the audience about the importance of vitamin A in their diet.
Andhra Pradesh Mahila Samta Society is implementing Mahila Samakya program of Government of India. It's a program for women's empowerment through education. And education here in the program is basically an awareness creation. And this program aims at building up awareness among women and build up their empowerment and as a collective process, forming sanghas in the villages and a reflection process of their situation. The issues that are identified, which is making them as secondary citizens, or how the gender disparities is affecting their lives, is one of the major focus on which issues are discussed, whether maybe it be health or women in governance or girl-child rights or child labor, all these issues with a focused discussion on gender and discrimination. With these issues, to build up awareness among the women, because they're basically poor women and illiterate women, we use many folk media of awareness creation. And it's quite popular among in our centers, where we have adolescent girl centers, where we discuss many things. And this form is quite effective because it builds in some entertainment also into that. And when they look at these dolls and all, it is not just serious deliberation of issues, it is a lighter vein, but at the same time giving the message is one of the very effective things. The West has come to recognize that there is no limit to the power of puppets, and that's why they have been able to develop the puppet theatre in the USSR, in USA, and all the Czech countries. In fact, we have people going to the puppet theatre just as we have people going to the cinemas in India. And they are so popular that children and adults, both of them, they visit the puppet theatre very often. I wish this would be possible in India too, but unfortunately we don't get that kind of encouragement here. Leave alone having a puppet theatre, people don't know what a puppet show is all about. They don't know what is puppet theatre. And even government organizations, they don't give enough encouragement to the puppeteers.
Contemporary puppeteers in India need more encouragement from the audience. A puppet theatre is much more than a show. It communicates ideas and messages. It is very effective in bringing about positive changes in the lives of the people. Let us appreciate, encourage, and preserve this ancient art and give it space in our contemporary lives.